Ready.
I'm Patrol Officer TK Huff, and welcome to the Village of Homer.
Good evening, Officer Huff. How long have you been an officer?
Well, I've been an officer with the Village of Homer for about 3 years, but I've been in police work for 4.
Okay. Why did you want to become an officer?
Well, it's twofold. Growing up as a kid, cops and robbers, playing the heroic part, so on and so forth, was something that interested me. It was something that I wanted to do out of college, but my initial path went a different route. But the second piece is, by nature, I do diversity work, diversity and social justice work, and one of the biggest challenges that I notice, especially working with first responders, is this notion of not understanding, right? You don't understand where we're coming from, you're not on this side of the table, you don't experience the things that we experience. So I said challenge accepted, and that was another reason why I became a police officer, to be on the other side of the table, to enter the room, to have those conversations.
Okay. And when you say to be on the other side, what are you meaning?
Well, actually being within the profession, trying to understand the experiences that officers have, because just working within first response, on the civilian side, there are things that officers and first responders see that civilians don't have to experience. So trying to engage in conversation and trying to create that relationship is really important, and that's part of the reason why I also became a police officer.
Okay. Compare how things are today, so in 2021 versus, you said 4 years, right? So 2017?
2017, yes.
Okay, so compare how things are today in 2021 versus how they were in 2017 when you started.
With in regards to policing, or
Mhm.
just okay? So I would say the climate, the view of policing right now is rough. And even in 2017, just the things that were circulating, the concerns and issues that were happening within the police world, especially interacting with civilians, people of color, marginalized groups, so on and so forth. It wasn't pretty, but things are much more prevalent now with access to social media. Things are at the forefront. More so than when it was in 2017. Now, granted, some of the issues and concerns were still there in 2017, but now they are at the forefront, especially if you pay attention around presidential elections, which we just got through one. Those tensions and the importance and the attention to those details tend to arise a little bit more around election time.
Gotcha. What would you say is the difference between the police department you might have started in versus the one that you're here now?
I guess the biggest thing with the police department I started in, I was working on a college campus.
Okay.
So just the interaction with the community was different. I was dealing primarily with, people within the realm of higher education, so students, faculty, and staff, so on and so forth. Versus in this realm, yes, I do still deal with individuals who might be within the realm of higher education, but there is a bigger scope of experiences that I'm able to have working at this department.
Gotcha. And then when you hear the word diversity, what does it mean to you?
Okay, so this is a very complex question, and I'll try to keep it simple. Diversity for me is a mixture of different cultures, experiences, beliefs, and a whole multitude of other notions. Like I said, diversity the word itself is very vague, but what it encompasses, when we talk about, the intersectionality of identities, experiences, religion, so on and so forth. So diversity for me is a culmination of all of those aspects within each individual. But the word diversity gets used in a blanket statement when diversity is actually very individualized. And I'll leave it at that, because I'm going to start going into the definition of like equity and equality and inclusion, and you just asked for diversity, so.
Okay, now if I were a new person, John Doe, to the Village of Homer, what would you say to me to make me feel welcome? What would you say I should do? Like, how would you introduce yourself to me? Like, what would happen?
All right, so just walking in off the street, coming into the office and saying
Boom.
hello. All right. the first thing I like to do is introduce myself. And hello, my name is Tika Huff with the Village of Homer Police. Depending on the conversation, I'll share my own pronouns just to open up the conversation for that individual to share their pronouns. And then another big piece for me is that I like to get people's names right. Far too often, you hear someone's name, if it's not common for you or it may seem too complex, we tend to shorthand or butcher someone's name. I'll take the time to get someone's name right because that is the first piece of individuality that you're given when you're born, right? So pronouns, asking them their names, and then trying to understand, them and their lived experiences. Tell me about you, right? And making sure that I'm keeping the conversation PC. And when I say PC, I don't mean politically correct, I mean person-centered. And really focusing the conversation on them so that they feel that they're welcome when they interact with me, and hopefully during their stay at the Village of Homer.
Is there any other message that you would like to share with the community?
I guess the biggest thing is that just keep doing what you're doing. Be open to conversation, and that goes on both ends. Give grace when possible. And just stay up to date, right? In a sense of just, when you're gathering your information, when you're having conversations with police officers, and I'll speak for myself, please don't hesitate to ask questions. You have a right to ask questions. We are public servants, right? And I'll leave it at that.
Well, thank you for your interview today.
Thank you.